I swear, I know there's a lot of theories going around that Lily Tibber is Armin and Mikasa's that older-looking Asian lady. If that's the case, as Eren is underneath basically mentally torturing Reiner, I'm done, man. I don't know if I can take that. I know you could say she looks a little too old to be Mikasa, and that's true, but with a little bit of makeup and some mask, possibly that's a thing, right? And we know, for somebody who comes from one of these families that wants the Eldians exterminated, she seemed to be really nice to that boy who spilled wine on her. At the same time, she told Willy Tibber to keep playing that role, as if they were talking in some coded language. And getting into Willy, his mannerisms, his appearance, yes, does look like an older Armin. Now, it's a little bit of a stretch because, dang, Armin must have gotten a real growth spurt if he's gonna end up that tall, right? And he's speaking as if he studied political science for 10 years or something. We know Armin's smart, but he didn't have the time to actually do all that, right? In fact, they've been in a war the last couple years, Marley and Paradise. Well, a war, quote-unquote, because we don't even know what happened within that time span. Eren just infiltrated Marley society, and now he's here. And now I'm guessing all the other Survey Corps members are here, or the ones that survived at the very least. They really have a lot of explaining to do, right? Because we saw one of the processes, right? We know that 2 of the Titan powers ended up in our hands, right? Annie is crystallized and Armin ate Bertolt, right? And the other process is all those ships, right? All those ships that Marley sent to Paradise, no more. But what else happened? There had to be a lot more that happened, and of course a lot more happened. Eren went from this, right, to this. His demeanor changed completely. He's extremely calm. I mean, he really resembles, like, Levi Ackerman during his, most calm moments. That's who Eren resembles right now, and that's crazy because he was nothing like that. I mean, he was jumpy, he was all about, we need to kill them, all about getting vengeance, and now he's just, chilling out like he done seen everything, like he done know everything. So they have a lot of explaining to do. We need a lot of information to really understand what happened within that time skip, of course, right? And keep in mind, there was another war. We saw more colonization taking place when we really needed to see what happened with our crew. This chapter didn't really answer any of those questions. It just opens up more questions, and it throws us into this, I'm guessing, takeover of Marley from the inside, which is absolute insanity to me, guys. And the beginning of this chapter, I know those of you who've been following the story since the start, you saw the look on Eren's face as his mother was being devoured. I'm sure this was quite satisfying to you. Seeing Eren just psychologically abusing Reiner. Sit the down. Sit down, listen to what I have to say, right? And, Reiner at the end of the day, he can't do anything, man. You got Eren there with this cut, and you know what that's about, right? Eren about to blow himself up. He's just completely cornered, and that's very unusual for Reiner to be in that situation, because while Reiner was a klutz when he was younger, in fact, one of his comrades died as a result of that. One of his comrades obviously saved his ass and got eaten, of course, and that's the whole Ymir situation. That's how Ymir got one of these powers. The Jaw Titan that ended up getting captured, of course. Reiner is no klutz anymore, right? He went through so much abuse and struggle, and keep in mind, none of it is really his fault because he was just naive. When he destroyed that wall, he was naive, and that's one thing we actually saw in the chapter. Eren understands now that Reiner was like a kid when all this happened. Reiner didn't understand nothing. He might have been a little older, but he had the mentality of a kid. He didn't know what he was doing. But he's come a long way since then. And somebody who infiltrated the ranks of Paradise, because this is like the opposite situation. This is like Survey Corps now infiltrating Marley. What happened before is Marley infiltrating the Survey Corps, right? He went years keeping this plan. His loyalty to Marley barely faded, right? And there was a lot of contradictions going on in his head. Reiner, to me, honestly, is one of the best characters, if not the best character in Attack on Titan. One of the best characters in anime, in my honest opinion. So to see somebody who's extra careful, who's went through it all cornered like he was in this chapter, it was satisfying. And it was satisfying to anybody who, who's been down with Eren from the start, who wanted to see Eren actually get revenge for what took place at the beginning of the story. And now that we understand the story a little bit better, it doesn't taste as good, this revenge, because we understand that when Reiner and Bertolt did what they did, it wasn't really even their intentions, right? It was this government feeding them propaganda to go and do these things, to go on these missions to begin with. But the look on his face. Sit down. I'm here for the same reason you're here, Reiner. It's like he was playing with them the entire time, and again, you know what he's about to do. You know he wasn't actually about to go to Titan form, but he was just threatening him. And I love the scene where Reiner basically told Falco to just, yeah, shut up, Falco, like, sit down yourself, like, stop. Because at the end of the day, Reiner, even though you might consider him up, he cares about his people, he cares about Marley, and I don't think he necessarily hates the Survey Corps, but he sees them as a threat. Now, I know a lot of Attack on Titan fans have been waiting a long time for just some straight-up Titan action, like just, again, Reiner versus Eren Part 3, Part 4, right? Something of that sort. You're not going to get it in this month's chapter. We do get action, but it's different kind of action. It's more so like social, political action. Similar to the stuff we got in the Uprising arc. It's going to be one-on-one, more human action. And I've really got to ask the question at this point in time. Are they trying to make Eren the savior of the world on some Lelouch Code Geass? Like, you know, the Eldians blame their problems on Eren, the Marleyans blame their problems on Eren, everybody blames their problems on Eren because he's the one thing stopping the world from being at a state of peace. Is that the direction they're trying to take this? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know how that sits with me. I really need to process that. You know, Eren being evil, Eren being bad, and they could take this in another direction in the sense that, okay, just a total infiltration, right? Willie laid out the truth about what actually happened, about how King Fritz of Paradise is the one who wanted to bring world peace, even though his people suffered as a result of that, so is he technically good? And would Willie be good if, you know, him and his family let the Eldians in Marley suffer for so long and these internment zones sent to fight in other countries as fodder? Like, it's a lot to take in, you know? So if this is Armin, then it makes sense. If it's not Armin and it's someone else, it feels like Eren and Willie are still in on it together. They both planned this out, and he could be on the Survey Corps side, he could be on the Eldian side, and he wants to destroy Marley. Or maybe he's just making all of this up, and he is Armin, by the way, and this story is just nonsense, right? Like, this is the problem. We see Eren now calm, like he knows everything. I mean, he's on some Levi. So if Eren upgraded that much, you know, it might be crazy for us to remember Armin and, like, how could he turn into Willie? But maybe he could. I mean, if Eren got the upgrade that he got, Armin could have got a crazy upgrade too, right? Being this little, now becoming a boss and, you know, making up these stories, manipulating people, altering memories possibly. And keep in mind, he's got Bertolt's colossal Titan power. He could go toe-to-toe with just about any of the warriors in Marley, right? And what do I mean by that? Piek, easy, right? Porco with the Jaw Titan power, okay, maybe that would be a close one, but he's got allies himself that could help him fight, right? With 3D maneuver gear, by the way. Mikasa and Armin working together, yeah, that's a pretty deadly combination right there. And so you could say, well, what about Zeke Yeager? I'm going to be honest. If it's any warrior, it's not Reiner that I'm worried about. It's not Piek, it's not Porco. It's going to be the 8th Titan, right? It's going to be Zeke. But then I'm questioning Zeke's intentions in this chapter, right? Because, like, he could see something coming, right? He's not so stupid. It's just so hard for me to believe that Willie Tibber is Armin. Maybe Armin is related to the Tibber family. That makes more sense. But for him to get that kind of upgrade would be absolute insanity, right? On top of the fact that he has got the colossal Titan power. And I don't know about the Warhammer power. Like, I don't know if that just made up. Because keep in mind, the warrior who saved Marley and allied himself with the Tibber family, that was all just made up. What else is made up? This whole story could be made up, right? But I think that they won't go as far as to make Eren evil, quote unquote. And what do I mean by that? If Eren finds out the truth, and I'm talking about the objective truth between the power struggle with the Marleyans, the Eldians, how they warred with each other, how the Eldians killed the Eldians, and, you know, maybe King Fritz really did want to change things, and the Marleyans were abused. If, you know, he looks at everything objectively, why would Eren want to destroy Marley? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he, of course, wants to become enemy number 1. And that's what they're trying to do here, because there's something really fishy about the interaction between Willie Tibber and Kiyomi. I really just want some answers, alright? I don't want more questions, I want some answers. And how would you feel about Eren becoming like the hero, becoming the ultimate arch nemesis of the Attack on Titan world? Everybody hates him, but they're all united in that hate. How would you guys feel about that? Without the actual, like, history behind what happened and what made Eren the way he is today, seeing what happened these last couple of years as they infiltrate, because I know I want to see that, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't know if I'd be satisfied with 1 month's chapter explaining that. Otherwise, they got some explaining to do. There's probably going to be like 3 back-to-back chapters, 3 months of Attack on Titan content where it's just explaining the process of how Eren turned into what we see right now, infiltrating, Marley, psychologically abusing Reiner, and I guess formulating this ultimate master plan. And of course, I don't know about Tiber's intentions, and I don't know about specifically Willie's intentions, who Willie is at this point. I can only guess. Either way, if you think about it, he's kind of a cunt, right? Because let's say he's not Armin. Let's say he's just, this guy that actually comes from this really powerful, wealthy family, and they're Eldians, and they actually run Marley from behind the scenes. It's like, what have you been doing this entire time, letting your people suffer? But then it's like, if he is Armin, and he was nervous like Armin multiple times in this chapter, but that could also be the fact that he has to give this speech in front of like everybody, literally, like everyone around the world, then he's also a cunt because he's there talking about like, King Fritzy would have allowed the Eldians to go extinct, and if that happened, okay. And if they acquire the founding Titan to, destroy other nations, that would just be okay. The way Armin's talking about all of this, it's like, dude is so cocky, arrogant, and like, again, they also got to explain how he got this far. And if this history is true, this Attack on Titan world is just so skewed at this point, I don't really even know which side to pick. Like, I want peace for the Attack on Titan world, but can you really argue who's the good guy now if you think about it? Marley is still the one conducting aggressive foreign policy, but they have a reason to. If 100 years ago people were getting slaughtered and there was 3 times as many casualties as there are people alive today, yeah, I would be pretty aggressive if I was a Marleyan. And so what's going on, right? And I trust Isayama, but there was these few years where we needed to see Eren and everybody else just invade Marley. We needed to see some actual, like, straight-up brawling, and it feels like we didn't get that. And we might get that, so I'm still gonna, like, hold off on, getting too excited here. But then, if Willie's Armin, he could have just made up this entire story. Maybe the real history is even sicker, right? And if that's the case, then Marley is actually the ones in the wrong, and that's what I'm hoping for, because I really don't like feeling as if Eren's the bad guy here, or that we don't know which side we should pick. We should know which side we should pick. And damn, Attack on Titan is really ending. It's ending, and I think we're probably going to have the backstory and how things got to where they are right now explained, but I also think there's going to be some crazy action that pops off. Eren's got it prepared, bro. Like, a lot's gone right for the Survey Corps, but everything can't go right. Something has to go wrong. In fact, I think Piek actually gave some of her peoples a warning, and something is going to go wrong here, and it's going to be a brutal war in Marley right now. Eren's going to transform, Reiner's going to transform, Falco's going to get the hell up out of there, and there's even foreshadowing that Annie Lionheart, yes, and we haven't seen her for so long, and I know there's some thirsty dudes out there that want to see her. I want to see her too, alright? She's going to be making a comeback for sure, because the foreshadowing was just crystal clear when we have Reiner's mother, we've got Annie's father, they're talking to each other, they talk about how Bertolt's father was recently in a coma and he passed away, but Annie's father truly believes Annie is alive, and just because she made a promise to him that she would return one day, which I don't know, in their twisted minds, I guess that means that nothing could go wrong and someone can't die. But if that wasn't foreshadowing that we are going to see Annie Lionheart again in action, probably for our team, I don't know what is. And maybe she'll even switch sides, who knows, right? Something's got to go wrong for the Survey Corps. In fact, I don't like the fact that Eren's all cocky here, he knows everything, he's cooler than Levi, and he's the one the whole world has to hate, so there's peace. Because they're also so stupid that they can't figure out the problem on their own. He's going to be using his founding Titan power, and they're going to be founding some corpses into the ground. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say it was either Jean or Armin, probably Jean, right, that basically led Porco and Piek into the place before Connie, I believe, cut the rope, and now they're down there with Eren. And the reason I say that is because, of course, Piek noticed Jean, and she recognizes him. Or it could also be Armin, but I'm going to have to lean towards Jean. And, of course, Piek basically told her friends the truth of what's going on. Something really bad is going on, like, don't trust this guy. I think they got the message, right? They looked extremely scared, like things were about to pop off here in Marley. And yeah, I feel like one of them, Jean or Connie, is going to die, because it's about to be all-out war in Attack on Titan. And this chapter was absolutely insane. I loved it. It just got me so hyped. But I also feel really empty inside, because not only has the story changed so much, but there's still so many questions. And I think the one that's going to be really out there on the front lines, taking it to the Survey Corps, taking it to the members of Paradise, or the Eldians on the island, the King Fritzers, we can call them. Oh, it's gonna be Zeke Yeager. It's gonna be Aaron's